Hello everyone, my name is Franklin Cachia, Head of Legal at Video Malta, and today we're at Sigma Malta and the Media Lounge interviewing industry specialists. Today with us we have Joseph Attard, Director of International Compliance at Tain, and we're going to be discussing mostly the developments of regulation, present, and also future. So the first question is, Joseph, actually, before jumping into a question, how about you give us a bit of an introduction about yourself and what you do?
Sure, yes. Basically, I am International Compliance Director of Tain. I oversee various markets from a compliance perspective at group level. We've got specialized people, obviously, handling their individual markets. So that is more or less my role. So I get obviously involved with whatever requires my attention, always from a regulatory compliance perspective.
So, of course, regulation is going to be pivotal also in
100% probably
this
that's
discussion as well.
it's what I always deal with regulations.
So, when it comes to regulation, how do you see regulation evolving, not just locally or from European Union, but also internationally? And where do you think the regulation for gaming operators is heading? Is it becoming more stringent? Is it relaxing? Are countries becoming more familiar with regulation? Are they adapting easily? Feel free to answer, like, not all of the questions, but of course, like,
No,
bit
look,
by bit.
I think the changes we are seeing currently are the same changes that have been happening for the last 5 years or so, whereby new markets are introducing their own regulatory regimes. I think Europe has started that, and can easily say that Europe is almost concluded with that process because we're only seeing a handful of countries left to regulate, including Finland next year as well. And that obviously means that the grey markets are becoming less and less prevalent. And with that, obviously, comes new ways of working, new expertise is required, potentially local expertise, because if you have a local regulatory framework, especially if it's outside of Europe, you cannot manage it from Europe, not all the time at least. So you're going to need law firms there, you're going to need expertise, people on the ground, new compliance specialists, and resizing as well at times. So that, I would say, is the biggest change in our sector as we speak.
Obviously, though, okay, there are some parts of compliance, like AML compliance, which
Yeah.
is pretty much harmonized across all EU member states. However, in terms of gaming law, there's still some discrepancies from
Yes.
one country to another because every country has its own standalone regulation. But I think an element of the future of regulation is the element of innovation and particularly AI. I mean, AI has become even more common around gaming operators, the use of AI, and as a matter of fact, we do have the first AI law within, I think, the world, which is the AI Act.
EU. Yeah.
And what is, from your perspective, how are gaming operators adapting to this harmonized AI legislation?
Yeah. So there's that aspect of compliance. Now we have a new piece of legislation that we need to be mindful of. I wouldn't say it's impacting us to the same extent it would be impacting an AI company, because an AI company needs to showcase a lot more elements which pertain to this particular regulation that you are referring to, the AI Act, which requires particular entities to do their own risk assessments. It restricts them from using AI in specific circumstances, mainly not to discriminate with individuals. We have been using as a sector AI for quite a number of years before this whole AI blew up into mainstream. Perhaps what we're referring to here is more the language learning models, the LLMs, and in the foreseeable future AGI as well. But we have been using algorithmic AI for quite a number of years, specifically with transaction monitoring, responsible gaming. It's been a big topic, at least I would say in the last 8 to 10 years, easy. But now it's taking a different dynamic, because now certain expertise, I wouldn't say is being replaced by AI, but it's definitely competing with our expertise,
For
such
sure.
as legal opinions, and obviously we're not at a stage whereby an AI is able to replace a lawyer, but I don't think that we are very far away, including compliance and even beyond. I mean, this touches with everything. It touches with commercial, it touches with marketing, CRM, developers. I mean, we're seeing that AI can fix and read or produce a code in a matter of seconds,
Of course.
whereby humans used to take weeks if not months to do the same thing. So I think there's a big disruption happening. We all need to adjust to it. I don't think we're all aware of what we're getting into. We're still adjusting to the situation, but I think it goes without saying that AI is gonna be the biggest tech disruptor for sure.
No, in fact, even I sort of I used AI, a particular AI, which I'm not gonna mention because otherwise it would be an advert. But I used it to code a compliance monitoring plan, and it just created it. I mean, you see the code being enabled there and then live in front of you, sort of, and it creates such an easy dashboard for you. And so in that respect, AI, which is the hot topic at the moment,
Yes.
Is being very impactful, not only on operators, but also on the regulation, because the regulation has to always catch up with technology, really and truly. And that moves us as well to another dynamic topic. So we mentioned innovation, which is always dynamic because technology is developing as we speak. And I think another topic of discussion is, which is evolving, is corporate governance. I think corporate governance is not necessarily a code, a hard code, but it's always evolving according to the industry practices. So, in your opinion, sort of corporate governance, why is it important in the gaming industry, and what sort of elements does a corporate governance code, for example, need to have?
Obviously, corporate governance is a bit of a wider terminology. It entails a lot of different dynamics. It entails different components. You have intellectual property, regulatory compliance pertinent to iGaming, responsible gaming, anti-money laundering, and on and on and on and on. How does it impact our sector? I don't think that our sector is able to survive without corporate governance, because we've been literally discussing regulations for the last 6 minutes or so. So basically, without a corporate governance, a proper corporate governance, I think if you are operating in regulated markets, obviously with licensing regimes, you need that element of corporate governance. As we go by, it becoming more and more prominent. It's no longer a function tucked away in legal. It's becoming imported in its own right. It's becoming more and more prevalent, and in any company that is serious about sizing itself or competing on an international landscape, you need not only to have a corporate governance, but you need all the relevant channels connecting with that corporate governance. In other words, if you are doing a marketing campaign, a new product, a new tech stack, whatever it may be, it needs to be bounced off with a corporate governance function, which obviously includes compliance and all the other elements I've mentioned, because of the so many different shades of regulations we have today.
Exactly. And I think the corporate governance of the company, first of all, it's the board of directors, which sort of sets the tone.
Indeed.
Together, and then sort of the other key functions feed to the directors what's important, because I don't think corporate governance is a static organ of a company. It's something evolving.
And it can change overnight with a simple regulatory change. But like you say, the appetite needs to come from up top, from the board of directors. The board of directors ultimately set the tone, the risk assessment, the risk appetite, and everything cascades down accordingly. Corporate governance ultimately ensures that direction, that level of direction, is sustained and properly adhered to in line with the obligations.
Joe, thank you very much for that. It was a pleasure having you and interviewing you.
Likewise.
And having this conversation with you. So thank you once again.
Thank you so much.